We'll call to order the Board of Zoning Appeals. If you'll stand for the pledge. Gary, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley.
Here.
Veronica Buchanan. Jerry Sartain.
Here.
Joe Machoto.
Here.
William Harper. Renee Curtis. Zane Cantrell.
Present.
We have a quorum.
You have the minutes of the last meeting, September the 12th. Are there any changes or additions to the minutes?
I would like to make a motion to approve.
Have a motion to be approved.
I'll second it.
Have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. They are approved. I'd like to welcome Bill Harper and Renee Curtis, first time here with our meeting, and we're glad to have you on board. We've been working a little short over a period of time, so we're thankful for your appointment. The first item of business that we have is a request by Rick Thurman, Trinity LLC, and they're asking for a variance relief on a 9.9 foot or 1 foot setback for a yard. And what do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2018-32 is a request for variance or relief of 9.9 feet from the side yard setback of 10 feet for a structure located in the residential medium zoning district. This property is a 5.10 acre parcel located at 2033 Gee Road. And the applicant has met with staff to discuss future plans to construct a 100-seat community assembly building upon the property, which is a use by right in the residential medium zone. However, the existing structure that's on the property that the applicant purchased in 2013 has existing encroachments into the side yard that you will see along the southerly property boundary. And the request only is to correct what's existing. Of course, before they can proceed with any future plans, they'll need to submit a site plan and and obtain approval, and the buildings will have to be inspected for the occupancy assembly use. And in that case, all of the existing structures will be re-inspected to be determined whether or not it is fit for that type of use. Now, we will not see additional encroachment into the side yard. All of the proposed improvements are to the north of the existing structures, and they will definitely be required to meet the setbacks for the RM zone. However, the applicants cannot proceed before correcting the existing nonconformities. We have received a informational call regarding this. No one has indicated whether or not they're in opposition or in favor, and it is my understanding that the applicant's agent, Mr. Thurman, has met with surrounding property owners to address any questions they may have. So what you're seeing here is the existing situation here that we are considering tonight. The applicants are fully aware that if the variance relief is denied, then the structures may have to be removed. And these are photos of the surrounding area. If staff finds that the request meets most of the criteria, it was not self-created by the applicant. However, the site does not exhibit any kind of unique conditions that would make variance relief necessary if you were to apply it to all properties zoned in the residential medium zone.
I would just like to ask the question. Can you tell me, based on the information you have, when were the non-conforming structures built?
After 2013, we were able to look at some of the aerials and see the pattern that had been established. And, oh, I'm sorry, not prior to 2013, before the applicant had purchased the property. The last permit that was obtained was for the garage, and that was determined to be in compliance. At the time, it was 5 feet off of the property line, which is permitted for detached accessory structures. However, it was attached at some point, making it non-compliant with the 10-foot setback. So they are here to correct these encroachments now, and they will be required to get permits for all the structures that were not permitted. No, sir.
Okay. Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please. If you'll give us your name and any additional information you want to share.
My name is Rick Thurman, and I think Danielle did a good job of covering everything we're looking to do. I will say that I did meet with the neighbors yesterday. Mr. Parker and Mr. Parker. One lives on each side of them. And once we reviewed everything they were wanting to do, even our future plans that hadn't been submitted or anything, they were good with everything. They're actually present here today. And they were fine with the situation. They realized they didn't create it. It was already, that way when they purchased it. And so they had no problems with the current situation or the plans that they have for the future.
Any questions? Gary?
Yes, sir. Appreciate you coming. My question is, that's your plan, but I guess what is the applicant's plan to fix the encroachment problems that are occurring now?
There's not an easy solution to it. I mean, it's a garage that's built on the property line. The only two options really we have is either tear down the garage or try to purchase some additional property to move the property line. So both of those would be, a challenging situation to try to address.
Were they informed of these issues prior to purchasing it?
No, they just found out when we started having conversations about the possibility of adding the room onto the end of the house, and no one was aware of it. Even when they went through the purchasing of it, nothing came up that there were any violations, and so this is new information for them.
Any other questions? Thank you. We'll open this for a public, you may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing.
Sir?
Do you want to come around?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, I'm an owner on both.
We can't hear. Come on around up here. We'll open the public hearing back up. If we have anybody else who'd like to speak on this, if you'll come on around to this side. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm the owner on both sides of the property they're talking about. And we got a letter in the mail for the appeal, and we didn't understand it, and we talked to the fellow that was just up here, and we talked about the 10-foot. And whether or not to purchase it, or if you guys, we agree the structure, if it's okay to leave the structure the way it is, where they don't have to buy a portion of our property, and if they have to, we just ask for an easement. But we're totally for them building on
Okay.
to their adjoining property and a small parking lot there for their,
Very kind of you.
yeah. So we're all for whatever they want to do and everything.
Okay.
We're glad to, if the appeals board says they're okay, since they wasn't aware of the garage not being supposed to be there. So we're okay with it staying just the way it is and them not purchasing our property and just grant them a waiver, whatever you do.
Okay. Any questions?
Yes, what is his name?
Wait just a minute.
Name?
Lonnie Parker.
Parker, okay.
Any other questions? Thank you. We'll close the public hearing now.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the request.
Have a motion to be approved. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second. Any other comments? Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Veronica Buchanan,
Yes.
Joe Machado,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
William Harper, Renee Curtis,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes, it is approved. The next item we have is a request by Tara Metcalf, and this is a request for a special exemption of a group child care home. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2018-33 is a request for a group child care home on the property located in the RM zone. It's a 1.10 acre property located at 306 Juniper Drive. And Ms. Metcalf is seeking approval to provide daycare services for up to her anticipated number is 7 children in her home, Monday through Friday, 6:30 to 5:30. And the provision for which she is seeking special exception does allow her up to 12. So the zoning ordinance requires anyone who seeks approval between 5 and 12 children from their home needs special exception approval. The site is already served by utilities. It's an existing home. We have received 2 phone calls, informational calls. No one indicated that they were opposed to the request. And this would not exempt her from having to meet the state licensing requirements for child care facilities. And we find that it meets the criteria for the proposed use. And that concludes our presentation. I don't see the applicant here, so.
Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please. If you give us your name and any additional information.
Cassie Payne, and I don't really have any. She's on vacation. I was asked to take notes. So she's fantastic, I can tell you that much. We've been friends for a number of years, and all of her grandkids play with my son, and she's great with kids. So,
Any questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone that would like to speak on this. Close the public hearing. Any questions, comments?
Move be approved, Mr.
Have a
Chairman.
motion to be approved. Do we have a second? We have a second. Any other comments? Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Veronica Buchanan,
Yes.
Joe Machado,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
William Harper, Renee Curtis,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes, it is approved. The next item is a request by Lawrence Atkin, who is requesting a special exemption approval for the establishment of a rural retreat and outdoor music venue. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2018-34 is a request for special exception approval for the establishment of a rural retreat and outdoor music venue for property located in the residential medium zoning district. It's a 22.21 acre parcel located at 3722 Shady Lane. And Mr. Atkin is seeking approval for these two uses. You may be familiar with the site. We did consider a similar request back in earlier this year, and it was denied. However, the applicant has waited the 6-month time period and is coming before you today with the request. They are seeking approval for the rural retreat, which would allow events to be, the facility to be made available for rent, as well as the outdoor music venue. Our zoning ordinance does allow for entertainment and amusement services outdoor and as a special exception in all zones, but it is limited to 250 persons. Any outdoor music event greater than 250 persons would require a zoning change for the property. And the applicant has addressed some of the concerns that the board in their application expressed in its earlier consideration. However, the applicant is here tonight to describe what measures will be taken to address those concerns. Approval tonight is just of the zoning approval. Before the applicant can establish the use and use the property in the manner it's being requested, they would have to go through a site plan review process and demonstrate that they meet all of our development regulations, and the Planning Commission would consider that site plan. But for the purposes of tonight, we have a conceptual site plan that the applicant has provided. A lot of those details for like trash receptacles, bathrooms, ingress, egress, parking would be something that we would actually consider during the site plan review process. So it would not exempt them from meeting our development standards, but we are considering the use tonight. The applicant has indicated that it will meet the regulations established in the zoning ordinance regarding sound amplification ending at 10 p.m., but that applies to just the rural retreat portion of the use. So we're considering two uses tonight. And we have received a couple informational calls, and I believe we did receive one call in support of the request. The applicant has included, and I included in your package, a petition that has signatures as well as a letter in support of the request, and that concludes our presentation.
Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please. If you'll give us your name and any additional information you want to share.
My name is Larry Atkin, Lawrence Atkin. I go by Larry. I'll try to do a better job than I did last time. I can't guarantee I'll do it, though. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Larry Atkin, and I'm the owner of the farm at Route 8 Shady Lane. I'll be the first to admit that the first time I put my application in for special exemption, I was not very prepared or versed on the expectations of the application process. My passion for having the venue had become so overwhelming due to my family's financial obligation that I was desperate to turn my property into a revenue-generating farm. Since my initial application, I've been working with professionals in the industry and learned so much. I've registered my venue as a business. I have the necessary insurances to host these events. I've also gone through the time and the money to ensure that my neighbors will not be disturbed by my venue due to traffic or music. We've also consulted with Taryn Gill, a health and safety specialist, to ensure that the patrons of the venue are safe. She made suggestions on how we could avoid possible traffic delays and minimize music exposure to the event. We've hosted a few family events this year, a birthday party and a wedding, and one event was my business partner's birthday, which had about 200 people attended. We were able to put some of those suggestions into play that Ms. Gill came up with, and there were no complaints of noise or traffic. I've also brought some of my friends and neighbors with me tonight so they could provide you with more information regarding the traffic and noise control measures. My last application was denied due to safety concerns and the width of Shady Lane. The BZA board members were concerned that the emergency vehicles would not be able to make access to residences on Shady Lane or to the venue due to traffic as a result of the venue. Ms. Gill was brought on board as a consultant in order to help mitigate some of those concerns. All right, here's where I'm going to try not to choke up. First of all, I have a revised petitions. These are from my direct neighbors. I added 8 names. We have a total of 32 people, which is, I think, just about everybody, except maybe 1 or 2 neighbors, that are all in agreement in favor of this venue and how we intend to conduct it.
Did you say those are your neighbors?
My neighbors. Can I give this to you? Can I present this to you?
We have, I think we
This is
have.
revised with 8 more.
Okay, if you'll
Do
give
you
that.
have addresses on them?
I have phone numbers. I have names and phone numbers. I did not have addresses, but they're everybody within Shady Lane, or there's nobody off of Shady Lane, and it's all Shady Lane or Emerald Estates neighbors.
We have questions.
And they all have phone numbers and are prepared for anybody to contact them. And many of them are here and going to speak tonight.
Gary?
Larry, did I just hear you say that y'all had a birthday party that had 200 people there?
Yes.
Did that occur after the denial?
After what?
After it was denied?
Oh, yes. It's just a birthday party. We have a big family, man. We have 30-something grandchildren, and we have 20-something grandchildren and 30-something great-grandchildren in just one part of the family, and that doesn't include his friends and all that stuff. It's a big place. So it's easy to hold that many people. I've got pictures on my phone of the cars there. I should have submitted that also. My neighbor across the street said he didn't know we were having it. So it's yes, but that's correct. I did.
Okay. Can you? And my biggest concern the last time, and I'm willing to listen tonight.
Yes, sir.
But I still have a concern. And I want you to explain to me and explain to this committee what your plan is for the public safety part of it, where fire trucks, ambulances, police, or whoever can get down Shady Lane when there's traffic, when there's cars parked, or anything down Shady Lane. I want you to explain your plan for that. I
will. Taryn Gill is going to she has a PowerPoint presentation, and she's going to actually address a lot of those. But I can tell you there's absolutely no parking on Shady Lane ever, and never has been. That was a kind of a misunderstanding last time. One of the board members was not sure about that. And also, when people come to our thing, it's like an all-day thing. So they trickle in and trickle out. There's more school traffic in the morning than there is coming and going from anything that I've ever done. And that's the way I intend it. We want intimate. We live on this property. I don't want a lot of people here. I need to, let me finish my speech, my little notes and stuff, and then Ms. Gill will address a lot of the things, and then we can answer more questions and stuff. I'll be glad to. So I kind of want to just let you know that's basically what we're going to do, what we want to do. I want to tell you why. I don't think I can. I want you to read this for me. Now I'm going to try. I can do this. I'll arm you up. Yes, sir? Oh, I'm sorry. All right. Our farm's been owned by the Haynes family since 1946. My mother-in-law, Ann Cannon, has lived there on the farm for the past 40 years or more. My wife and I moved in 9 years ago to care for her after she was diagnosed with dementia. My mother-in-law passed a couple months ago, and now the family farm is owned by my wife, Cindy, and her 4 sisters. After a 9-year battle with dementia, where we were able to care for her at home, it's left the family with little money. So to be able to pay for the expenses that are associated with living on a farm, we still have cows and chickens and a 100-year-old barn that we're trying to save, and it's going to cost a lot of money to fix it. And without the venue license, I'm afraid we're going to be forced to sell. Nobody wants that. We're 20-something years from a 100-year farm, and it'd be a shame to let it go at this point. So if we're awarded our license, we intend to use it for small, intimate gatherings, such as, but not limited to, weddings, reunions, birthday parties, farmers markets, movies under the stars, things like that. I just, really want you to consider it, please. And I promise you that I would do everything correctly and with as minimal intrusion on anything, noise or traffic as possible. I assure you, my neighbors are going to speak for me, some of them, and they live here. They are the ones that have to put up with the traffic, and they'll tell you, I'd like to listen to them. Also, I'd like to introduce Taryn Gill. She's the president of Safety Saves Lives. She's been really helpful in consulting me and through this, and she can take it from here.
You'll give us your name.
I guess I could plug it in here. We typically work that out with OIT. So let's.
Did you didn't get your question?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Gary was asking, you saying you have a business and you have events already existing. How
No.
are you doing that without a permit?
Well, we've never charged anything. We don't do anything. The only thing we've ever done is family. We have a big family, and we've had 2 weddings. We've had 2 weddings, 2 weddings and 3 birthday parties. And we have 60 people just for Easter dinner in our house.
Question, thank you.
Yeah,
we normally do this.
we haven't charged any money. We don't charge tickets. We haven't advertised or, it's just been.
Wait
through
just a
Facebook
minute.
or-
Make sure you get. Gary, did you get your question answered? Anyone else here while we're waiting on this?
The file name.
Any other questions? Okay, come around. Now, what is your relationship to this?
I'm acting as a consultant for them, as a risk and safety consultant.
Speak up in
I hate microphones.
where everybody can hear you. You're
Taryn
what?
Gill for the Safety Saves. I'm going to hope we can get this up pretty soon.
So OIT.
Yes.
You say you're technical public safety. Can you give your qualifications?
Yes, paramedic, and I'm certified through OSHA as an environmental safety and health specialist. Sorry, my eyes are a little itchy, allergies. Yeah, no, and in fact, I've been a paramedic for 23 years. If I blink at you again, I apologize. 23 years and 7, sorry, paramedic. Used to volunteer for Rutherford County, now work for Williamson County, Bedford County, and Vanderbilt Lifeline. Part-time. I can't do it all full-time. I sure can. Is that loud enough? If you have a problem understanding me, just let me know. So with that being said, I've gone out to the site. I did a review. He contacted me back in the fall, or at least in the spring when he was first declined his application, just to see what was going on. I have experience in dealing with consultation with events and, excuse me, production companies on the line of CMA Festival and Bonnaroo. Also doing risk assessments, safety assessments. And what I found unique about his property, one was, given the fact that there's only 200 people, 250 people, he had more than enough adequate space on his property to allow for parking. Yes, I agree with you, there was not enough easement on the road or the road width to accommodate parking on the road. So when I went out and did a site assessment, I established 3 different parking sites, of which he has 3 entries onto the property. So if there was a delay in parking, we could start ushering cars into other entrances onto the property, utilizing other parking lots. Does that make sense? So, one, it wouldn't delay because we have separate access routes. I actually went to the event in July that hosted the venue for at least 200 people for Sam's birthday party. And I went during the opening time around 7 o'clock at night, and I didn't experience any type of traffic. There were well over 100 cars at that parking, and they were all parked comfortably. We also addressed the fact that he has to have, especially if the event contains more than 50 to 100 people, a parking attendant and accommodate with the crowd. So if he's got, say, 50 to 100, 1 parking attendant. 200, he's got to have 2 or 3 to manage each one of those. Security was also advisable, again, depending on the venue or what the clients are wanting to use. I also found part of an egress we got our ingress sorted out and egress. We would establish that in the event of inclement weather or risk of a terrorist attack, active shooting, it's also part of the plan. We have to ensure that those cars can leave in a timely manner. And again, each parking lot would be evacuated one at a time to stop a bottleneck.
In your evaluation, what type of apparatuses were you looking at as far as
A ladder truck,
accessibility?
the
What?
biggest. I would assess a ladder truck going in there. It would be tight just as much as what it would
A ladder truck can go in there?
into the driveway.
Shady Lane.
Yes. It'll be tight, but yes, it can get in there. Yeah, it'll get in there.
You ever drove a ladder truck?
I haven't driven a ladder, but my husband has. I'm frequently around ladder trucks. Again, without the pictures to show you what we've designated as
Well,
parking
we're
areas.
not going to get into that because...
Okay, that's fine.
Okay?
Yeah.
When you have PowerPoint, you need to get it to us ahead of time because...
Did not know that, I
Okay.
apologize.
But anyway, that's neither here nor there now. Okay, any questions of these two folks that are up here now? Any questions?
Okay.
Thank you. You may be seated.
We've got your PowerPoint up, if there's
Okay.
something, okay.
Just tell me when.
Just go ahead and go down, since I've covered most of these already. Go through it again. So he's planning on hosting 12 to 24 events between 200 to 250 people. We're proposing security and parking attendants. Depending on the size of the event will determine how many attendants would be available. There are already established parking levels or designated parking areas within the facility. Portable restrooms would be provided, as well as food trucks. Go ahead. It's located on a 22-acre farm. Shady Lane has between 20 to 25 residents. 10 to 12 are located on Emerald Estates, which most of these people are from in and around that area. Shady Lane, as its widest and at its narrowest, range between 21 and 28 feet. I've compared them to 3 other venues similar to that of Shady Lane: Copper Ridge Events on Betty Ford Road, Bell's Meadow Farm, Brownsmill Road, and John Haven Farms on Valley View Road. They all fall within that 21 feet. So if a concern fell on Shady Lane, it should have felt on the other venues too. With that being my assessment, my risk assessment comes up with parking attendants, security. I've developed templates now for an emergency action plans determining medical and traumatic incidents, how to get emergency vehicles to and from the scene. Keeping in mind, this is to and from the scene. Traffic delays, inclement weather, and active shooters. We have established 3 or more parking locations to accommodate. The plan has been written and will be followed in the event 911 is activated. We'll ensure that emergency vehicles are able to get to the scene. Evacuation details to ensure safe egress in the event of inclement weather. Those are pictures of Shady Lane. Go ahead to the next one. You got your Valley View Road. Their maximum capacity is 120, with the establishment that they have more in the event of an opening. They apparently have a building on the facility with no sides. There are parking entrances. Let's see if this will work. You've got one access to the far left, which exits to the left of Shady Lane. Then we've got 2 in the middle that's split off, and each is designating to a parking area. The buildings in front of you are part of the venue area where they would set up tents and their entertainment. Go ahead to the next one. And then there's your parking, your designated parking area. Far to the right-hand side would be where your food trucks would be, and then, of course, behind that would be behind your parking, where would be your portable restrooms. Again, it's very, not very true to the fact of these pictures, but there's so much more venue space to where we are, and more drone coverage, but I didn't want to keep you guys here all night. Next one. So that gives you a broadest perspective of where the venue and the entertainment areas would be. Go ahead. Next. Access can be made onto Shady Lane from Compton Road and Highway 96. Traffic control in the venue will be controlled by parking attendants. The venue has, as I said before, 3 access points. Upon completion of the event, cars will be directed to leave 1 parking lot at a time. Again, that's going to help keep the free flow of traffic onto Shady Lane. In the event of an evacuation, again, this is also to minimize backup. We will be evacuating 1 parking lot at a time. That event hosted in July, the birthday party that had 200 people, very smooth going in, and when everyone started leaving, it was a trickle effect. Again, we could have situations where we cut off at 10 o'clock when the music ordinance cuts in, and people will be leaving at a steady rate. And again, that's when we start falling into our written policies about evacuatees, letting them egress one at a time, one parking lot at a time. Any questions?
Is that it? Is that the end of it?
Oh, is that?
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Any questions on what's been covered here? Okay, we'll call you back if we have any more questions, okay?
Have some friends that want
All
to
right,
say
we're going to open this for a public hearing. For those of you who'd like to speak on this, if you'll come around, please. Go ahead with your question.
Daniel, I know I wasn't here last month, but do y'all still have those pictures of the fire trucks that were brought up last month?
It's added to the very end of the PowerPoint presentation that I have, so I do have it here if you want to see that. And also want to note that she had identified 3 venues that she had considered. The Valley View and Browns Mill Road did not come before you because that was a use under the agricultural. So the use itself did not have to come before you. So you didn't review those 2 locations.
And she also said it was a 20-foot.
But the Betty Ford one you did. So.
It was 21 foot and 24 foot instead of 16, right?
21 to 28 feet was what the applicant indicated, the measurements at its narrowest and widest, but I think we measured using our GIS and our road book, and I think that was slightly different.
Shady Lane is 16, right?
18, yes, sir. The highway road book has it, the bed width at 18, so that's probably a floating average.
There's a minimum of 5 foot difference than roads, correct?
Yes, I would.
I'm sorry.
Minimum of 5 feet road difference.
Between Shady Lane and what she was talking about a while ago.
Well, I didn't look at Valley View, nor did I look at Browns Mill, because those weren't cases that the board considered. The
But,
Betty
yeah.
Ford Road, we measured.
Right. Typically, we're looking for at least 20 foot of lane width, 2 10-foot lanes, so traffic can pass safely on either side.
With the picture that you got up there right now, 2 fire engines, in your opinion, could 2 fire engines, because they're going to have to shuttle water back and forth, because there's no water supply back there. 2 fire engines, one coming in, one coming out, because they're going to be shuttling.
Fire hydrants.
It's a red top hydrant, so it's insufficient.
Not usable. Red top
Okay.
hydrant's not usable.
Let's go ahead and hear, if you'll come on around, give us your name.
I'm Clay Beach. I live at 3392 Shady Lane. I've been out there for several years. Gary, there's more traffic on that between 6:30 and 8 o'clock in the morning than there ever has been. I've been to these guys' event. I was at that birthday party. I've been out there long enough to know that when they have some type of small party or event, there's absolutely, you wouldn't know what was going on. There's absolutely no parking on Shady Lane. They've got plenty of fields to park in. That's not an issue. I mean, you've got school buses that are out there every day. You got farmers with semis pulling in equipment. That doesn't seem to be an issue.
Mr. Chairman, I'll address something. I understand that, but the problem I've got is what I was alluding to a while ago. They're going to have to relay water tankers and stuff in there back and forth, multiple, and there's no way in the world that 2 fire engines, one going in and one coming out, are going to be able to pass each other because the red top hydrant is insufficient water. You know there's an insurance agent, Clay.
Right, but but what's the difference between that and the houses that are out there would have to be served with a fire right now? If you got a fire, you still got the same situation. If my house caught on fire, they're going to have to be running back and forth. I mean, what's the solution? Just to shut the road down? These guys aren't going to be, if they're having something going on and there's something like that, they're certainly not going to be releasing cars on the street.
But you're adding more traffic out there by having this and causing more problems by doing that.
You're adding traffic that will trickle in and trickle out, and you'll never even know it's there, and you can't see it when it's going on. You don't even know what's going on. So if there was a house fire on that road, I would assume that common sense would prevail, and these guys would just say, hey, wait a minute, everybody's got to stay here. The roads can't be used at this time. I mean, that's no different than my house or anybody's house on that road or any narrow road in town. I mean, you got to service it, and they're going to have to, if they got to funnel water back and forth, I mean, it doesn't, I mean, you're assuming that it's going to happen right at the time they're having an event. Well, if that's the case, they shut the road down. Then it's just like it is today as we stand here right now.
Okay,
I mean, I understand your
you
point.
live on the site, and you're in favor of this, is that
Yeah,
right?
I'm in favor.
Okay.
I am. I think, and these guys are not trying to pull the wool over your guys'
Okay.
eyes. I mean, they may not know what they're doing. They're trying to figure it out as they go like everybody else, but.
Okay.
I mean,
All right.
I mean, you got school buses, you got semi-tractors going down there all the time, or not all the time, but you got farmers that pull in and work some of those fields. I mean, they can get around those curbs. And
Okay.
so I'm for it. I don't have a problem with it.
Thank you very much. Next.
Hello, I'm Adam Bond. I live on 4004 Shady Lane, and I would echo basically everything that Clay just said. My house is pretty close to the road, so I can see the traffic really well. Every morning between 6:30, 8 o'clock, lots of traffic. A lot of people cut through from East Compton over to get to Las Casas to school and all of that. So, you know, if the concern is, like he said, about the width of the road, you know, my children ride the bus every day on that road. So if somebody's house is on fire and you have a fire truck that needs to go by a school bus, you know, then maybe the road needs to be widened a little bit.
Okay, how long have you lived there?
Just approximately 2 years, 2.5
Okay,
years.
and you're for this?
I'm for it, yes.
Okay, thank you. Next.
My name is Jerry Golden. I live at 3749 Shady Lane. That's directly across the street from our driveways meet head on from Larry's. And it seems like the issue has become to the whether or not you could get emergency vehicles up and down the road. I own a 40-foot RV, and I pull a 20-foot car behind it, and that's 65 foot. And you're talking about a ladder truck, and I go up and down that road just often. And do I meet cars? Yeah, I sure do. Do I meet fire trucks? No, I haven't met a fire truck on it, but we have tractor trailers that are longer than I am, my vehicle, and they have no problems getting up and down the road, and you can pass. Now, you can't pass at 30 miles an hour. You have to slow down and be careful to pass, but you can pass. They have the events out there, and he's had several events, family events, where they had gatherings and they had bands out there. And I attended 2 or 3 of them, and it was very well organized. Some of them ones I didn't attend, I was watching from my porch to listen to the band to see if I wanted to go over there, because I didn't know if I liked that kind of music or not. So when they got to playing, I could hear them. But did they blast me out of my house? No. The music is turned away from me facing the creek. So it's not an issue of a noise issue anyhow. To me, it wasn't. In fact, I went to bed. I'd go to bed early, and I didn't even know when the band quit playing because it wasn't that noticeable to me in my house. And I guess I'm the closest one to them.
Okay. How long have you lived there?
32 years.
32, and you're
Yes,
for
sir.
this?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you very much. Next.
Hello, my name is Joseph Barron. I live in Emerald Estates, which is, as you've already know, is close by. I've known Larry for over 30 years, and I am the longest resident of Emerald Estates. A couple of times when he's had activities there, I didn't even know they were there. But the gentleman's already spoke about traffic. You know, we've watched traffic grow on Shady Lane over the last 30 years with school buses, et cetera, et cetera. I might also offer a small solution to trucking water in and out. There's 2 ways to get to Shady Lane off 96 and Compton Road. So you can have a truck going out on the 96 side and a truck coming in on the Compton Road side and be able to shuttle that, and they don't have to pass. But I am in for this. I've toured the property. It's well thought out, the ingress, egress, how it's going to work, which way the music would point, won't be a hindrance to anybody. So I am for this.
Okay, thank you very much. Next.
Hello, my name is Chris Estes, and I've lived out on Emerald Estates now for 17 years. I'm an across-the-street neighbor of Joe's, and I didn't even know that they were having the party in July because the sound was so low, and when we finally got home, we didn't even notice the traffic. And when we got home and we got out of the car and we could just barely hear some music, and we sat out on our front porch and we got serenaded. So there was no traffic. You didn't even know it was going on. And we did go to one in May, and it was well thought out, and
I bet you like the parties too, don't you?
it was nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it was out under the stars. There's no lights out there, and the stars just shine bright. And there's nowhere else left that you can see the stars like that, especially with Murphy-Burrell growing the way it is.
Thank you very much.
And I
Next.
approve this.
You both can come if you want to at the same time. She's trying to get you to.
Coming. My name is Becky Walker, and this is my husband, Marty. I am a relative. We live at 3831 Shady Lane for about 11 years. Most importantly, though, we own the property that you've seen in the photos, the little gray vinyl house that is immediately adjacent to the area. We own that property also. That was my mother and father's home. We are in full favor of the special exception. We have never been bothered by the noise or the traffic. We are clearly more bothered by the school traffic every morning. The school bus comes through. Mr. Golden's exactly right. You meet someone that is big, you do slow down and make it work. The school bus is the greatest example. Mr. Golden drives that RV, but he also had a fire truck at his house sometime this year with an ambulance. They made it over there fine. The fire hydrant is right at the entrance to one of the driveways. It's right there. I don't know what color the top is, but I know it is right there. So literally at the end of the driveway is where the fire hydrant is. There's also already been 2 fires up on the top of Shady Lane. We have a beautiful hill there. My brother's house caught on fire up there. All the fire people served him. He was served by Las Casas, Walter Hill, Kittrell responded. And then I know the doctor 2 houses down from him. He had a major fire. And the fire people served both of those house fires. My grandmother named Shady Lane. So it is very dear to our hearts. So we don't want to do anything that would jeopardize that. And I don't hear the noise. The music venues, you go in the house, you shut the door, you don't hear it. So we are definitely in favor.
Thank you very much. Commissioner P. Robert, is this in your district?
It is. It is. Bill, I'm going to say hi to you. You're the only one I don't know up here. Met Miss Curtis. Of course, I know the rest of these guys. But pleasure to be here tonight. As you can tell, Mr. Atkins has got some friends and neighbors that he cares about. And I'm going to tell you right now, he's not going to do anything in his neighborhood that would be detrimental to his friends, his family, or any of the property there. He's adamant about doing this right. He's adamant about having a safe place. And like I said, this is friends and family. He's not going to do anything that they don't want to happen over there. I have not had the first call against this for months, and people have had ample opportunity to talk to me about it, and I actually campaigned over in that area, going door to door. Not the first word from anybody about it, against it at all. He does not want to develop this property. If he develops it, you're going to get about 3 houses per acre, multiply out the acreage there, and you're going to have that much added to traffic to this little narrow road over there. So that's part of what's going on. He wants to be able to maintain his family's farm and keep it. It's pristine. It's a beautiful place. You know, he'd be happy for any of you to come up there and look at it if you want to, but he's needing a little extra income, and that's understandable. I mean, you know, you've got the debt that accumulates where he's trying to take care of his family, and that's what we all try to do. At least here in the South, you know, our families live close to us. You know, that doesn't happen everywhere. But I'm here to tell you, that during an event, one of his events, that area is going to be safer than it is when there's not an event going on, and I'll get to that in a minute. By the way, while you're flashing them up there, I want that fire engine picture back up that I kept seeing all the time. Yeah, that's it. We'll talk about that in just a minute. I don't know how many of you know where the Buckhannon exit is over off 24, where Barrett Firearms are. Of course, I've been a volunteer firefighter for a long time myself. I remember going to a fire over there one day, and by the way, we put a subdivision in there. Below there, it was 500 or 600 people, houses. I know initially that's what it was going to be. I think it's quite a bit more. I think it's quite a bit more than that. Well, as I was driving my fire engine down, unlike this one, my mirrors on each side of the truck, which is actually smaller than this truck, was hitting the leaves on the trees on each side of the road as I went down the middle of that road. So it's not like the county hadn't put development in places where it was questionable whether we could get the fire engine in or out. However, this one, there's some easy answers to fixing this problem. And a couple of them I wanted to point out. The reason I wanted that back up there, I got that fire engine coming toward me and I'm driving down this road. You notice that ditch line? Well, I'm just going to ease my car or my truck right off to the side and get out of the way and let him blow on through. And most of the ways, now right here you couldn't do it because there's trees on one side and a little bit of ditch, but a lot of that road, if you've been through there, is fairly flat land and you can pull off to the side of it in many places. But being a volunteer firefighter for many years and having fought fires over in this area, one of the first things we're going to do is shut the road down, and we're going to say, okay, traffic is coming in this way and we're going out that way. Just like the one gentleman pointed out, that's how you would do a tanker service there. And not only that, we've got radios and we can say, hey, stop, we're bringing the tanker up. So I mean, it's a matter of communication, and we've got those communications. Now, the last thing I want to say about this, and I told you, Larry wants to do this and he wants to do it right. I talked to him back earlier in the summer, and one of the things we talked about is, well, if we need it, could we have law enforcement on the scene? You know, and a lot of these guys, the SOs, want the extra money. And, you know, he said, well, of course, if we needed that, the security, he said he'd be happy to get that. Well, not only that, if we're worried about fire, we've got volunteer fire departments that would stand in line for the donations he'd give them to park an engine right there while the event's going on. Now, that's why I'm saying that this is going to be safer when he has an event going on than any other time out there. Needless to say, I wouldn't be up here arguing for this. You know, I'm an elected official, and I'm answerable to these people sitting out here in this audience. But I've talked to them, and they've had the opportunity to talk to me, and I have not heard any resistance to it. And what I'd like to ask y'all to do is please help this gentleman out so that he can keep his family farm. Please help this community out so that they don't have the growth that they don't want to see, and they want to keep these pastures open. And he's going to be able to maintain that family farm for not just him, but the folks down there in Emerald Estates and the folks along Shady Lane, so they can see this open countryside. And that's basically all I've got to say for it, unless you got some questions for me.
Any questions? Go ahead.
Commissioner Pete, can you explain to me again when emergency vehicle like the fire engine is coming and you have grown-up brush like this, how do you get over? Can you explain that again? How are you gonna
I was talking about this open, the picture on the right, that open shoulder I could pull off. Now right there, I said, no, you couldn't there because you got trees, and this other side, you got a steeper ditch.
How much is made up of the first one?
I don't understand what you're saying. Oh, you mean through the road?
He's talking about the side there that's grown up.
When you can get over, how many times can you get over on this particular
There's a lot of places that you can get over, but you know, there's several places. I'm gonna say a third of it minimum you can get over. At least a third you can get over. I don't think that's an exaggeration. You guys, y'all live out there. Shake your head if you. And I'm trying to estimate low. So.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Commissioner,
hold up just a minute, please.
Shuttling water back and forth. And I understand they're saying there are hydrants out there. Those hydrants are red top hydrants, and you know yourself, those red top hydrants cannot be used. They're not going to get any water out of them enough to fight a house fire. The flow's not going to be there. My problem is with it is in the event something happens while that event is going on out there, it's going to be disaster out there, shuttling water and coming to that fire scene. You take away the event, yeah, fire department can handle it out there. But you get an event of 200 people or more out there, there's going to be traffic, there's going to be all kinds of problems that's going to cause issues. If you're willing to take the responsibility and the liability for the county, if something happens out there, you know, I mean.
Well, we've taken it on the examples that they showed, the other 3 venues that are a little bit narrow. We've also taken it over off the Buchanan exit that I was talking about. But, you know, like I said, Gary, if we've got a fire engine on site, I mean, it's highly unlikely you're going to get to a position where you wouldn't.
But you still got the same problem, Robert, of shuttling water.
I understand. I understand.
You're still going to have that same problem.
The only other thing, and I've got a question for Mr. Atkins, is when we talked, I know you were looking at renovating or making a venue, the barn there. Were you talking about sprinkling that? Yeah, I was questioning where it was. Okay. And I wasn't sure if we were or not. Yeah.
Joe, did you have any questions?
I think Mike,
Pardon?
county engineer.
County engineer has a question.
There's a possible solution to that shuttling water situation. There is a 8 and then a 6-inch water line coming down from the north side of Shady Lane, and there's like a 485 feet, give or take, gap in between. The north side connects to a 60-inch water line on Lascassas Pike, and you can see the green top fire hydrants in Emerald Estates. So if there was a connection between those, this would all have to be worked out through CUD. That would help with the pressure and volume to increase the capacity of that fire hydrant. But that's an additional cost that would have to be incurred.
But is the county going to pay for that, or is the developer?
It might be a condition of the site plan approval.
That could be worked out in the site plan.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, he just pointed out that you've got a green top hydrant within less than a quarter of a mile, because this is very Emerald Estates. It's just right around the corner from him.
But Robert, you're still going to be shuttling water. There's not enough hose line.
Shuttling water, you're shuttling water. You're going to be doing that anywhere, Gary.
That is my point. When you increase this traffic in here and you're shuttling water, that's the problem I got with it. Is the traffic and everything with fire engines coming and going and meeting each other.
You know, Kittrell's got about a 4,000 gallon tanker that could be set on this site.
Veronica.
You know, and you know, one fire hose will flow about 250 gallons a minute for what, inch and a half, inch and 3/4, 250 a minute. So you got several minutes of suppression there. It's highly unlikely if you've got fire suppression on that site that you're going to have a fire get out of control.
So Commissioner P., are you in favor of this?
I think I am. In fact, I emphatically am. And I'd like to think that you guys would go along with that. And like I said, I think this is something that's going to help this community. I wouldn't be standing up here and be so adamant about it if I wasn't. And being a firefighter, I've sat on planning, and those of you that have been on planning with me, is almost every time anything came up, I said, do you have a fire hydrant? Will you put one in? Because I want those put in. For one thing, it helps these other people out here keep their insurance rates go. And Mike, I appreciate you doing that. What we need to do, Larry, is just give CUD a call and see if they'll connect that or have any future plans of connecting that. And that helps them too, because if they have something go down over in Emerald, instead of y'all being out of water, they can block the line on one end and flow water in from the other. And that's their plan as far as water anyway. Anywhere in the county, they try to make circles, so if you got a break here, they can block it off and keep supplying water all the way around them. So that's what they plan to do.
Robert, I'm going to go on record. I'm not against the concept I just want to make sure that it is safe out there for the firefighters and for the citizens out there, and the citizens that would be coming out there. That is my concern. The concept, I'm not against. So.
Yeah, we appreciate that, and thank you,
Let's,
we think it's acceptable risk.
let's see, Jerry, did you have any questions?
Only comment I have is I really appreciate the level of detail brought to us this time as opposed to the first
Last time, that's right. We've got more detail. Bill, did you have anything?
No, I listened very well.
Okay. Renee, any questions?
I only thought I was trying to figure out what is the problem. Is it the fire or is it the traffic? That was my, and I think that they've answered that. I don't see a problem with it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Does anyone else that has not had a chance to speak that needs to? Okay, we're going to close the public hearing. Wait a minute, Commissioner. The last time that we reviewed this, remember, folks, there were some neighbors out there that had some real serious questions about the safety of the street getting back and forth. It wasn't just everybody was for it. So I don't know what's happened to those folks. However, I do agree with the commissioner here in giving this additional information. And, ultimately, if something happens out there, and I heaven hope that it doesn't, that we have the commissioner here who's given his word that he thinks this is a good operation, and I appreciate that very much. And I appreciate the neighbors coming out here and giving us their thoughts on the operation of this venue. Be careful of what you wish for, you may get it. So I appreciate, Commissioner, you being here and standing up for the folks out there. I'm going to close the public hearing. We've looked at this for 2 months. We've gotten some additional information, so we're ready to make a decision on that. Do I have a motion now?
I move to approve it.
Have a motion to be approved. Do we have a second?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make one caveat on the motion, if he'll allow, is that the outdoor music and then the rural retreat, both the time for the music stops at 10.
Outdoor amplification, you want to establish that the outdoor amplification of music ends at 10.
That makes both of
For
their
both
venues
of the
the
proposed
same.
uses. Okay.
If he'll agree to that.
And you second this?
I'll second it.
Okay. Call roll, please.
Gary Farley.
Gary, wait a minute. Gary, do you have some more discussion?
Yes. Well, you didn't get a second, did you?
Yeah,
Second. Okay.
We
I'm
have a
sorry.
second.
All right. Go back to Mr. Hughes. What you were talking about a while ago, getting with CUD, does that not need to be part of?
That could be part of the site plan approval. They still have to go through site plan approval to, before they can establish the event venue.
Okay.
That could be as part of that
Okay.
plan.
I'm going to vote in favor of this tonight, but I want that to be seriously looked at in the site plan. So, okay. Thank you.
Gary, you're up for call the roll, please.
Gary Farley.
Yes.
Veronica Buchanan. Yes. Joe Machoto.
Yes.
Jerry Sartain.
Yes.
William Harper. Renee Curtis. Zane Cantrell.
Yes, it is approved. Do we have any other business coming before the BZA?
No, sir.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for being here.